Hey troops, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan. I'm a former commando from the United Kingdom. At the time of recording, it was Friday the 7th of October, and we've got quite a bit of news for you to get back in and indulge on. It's good stuff, positive news as well, both in the east and the south. But we've got a few things that we want to cover. Do a bit of a map study today, which is the most important part. Then we're going to get into whether or not the mobilization efforts and the fourth generation efforts via from Russia are actually funded or not, because there's rumors that there's Russian troops who are mobilized through different units. It's expected and it's thought that they're not actually getting paid on the front line. So make of that as you wish, guys. But before we get into it, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We've got some great information coming to you by way of the Institute of Study of War. It's really doing a good job of covering the Russian offensive campaign, and I'm getting quite a bit of my information from that source as well. So let's just do this, guys. Welcome here, and thanks again for joining. Boom. Right, so get straight into a map study. So I think we're up to date now. We've been lagging a few days behind. So today is it's on the 6th. Then we're just going to see what's going on up until the 7th. A little bit of movement both in the east and in the south. But it appears that, in fact, let's go down to the south to start with, because I've just noticed today there seems to have been a little bit of movement. Right, my love, or I think that's south of Dudcheny now has been taken. Remember this area we were speaking about? They'd taken this part of Dudcheny, the most northeastern part. It appears now that they have actually taken the rest of that area. Quite a prominent route when you think about it. It allows movement across decent enough terrain, and by decent enough terrain, what I mean is roads. Although you try not to use roads. Roads are important in war when it comes to effectively moving your troops across the battle space. Yes, it's not tactically the best way to do things, especially if you're fighting in rugged terrain as such. But when you've got the enemy on the run, it's a good place to utilize. Good thing to utilize with all of those fields, especially around Dudcheny. That little what should I say, is that river system that's surrounding the area. It's just off the main river there. It'll be, I expect to be quite boggy in terrain, especially with the wet weather they've had there. Going to be hard to move across. So if they could take the road system, the only road system it appears, or the main road system near that main river, then it's a good thing all round for Ukraine. So it appears that they have taken this. There is reports. But again, we don't go too far into the map updates. We literally take it as it comes. There's reports that my love has been taken as well. I know I'm not pronouncing that correct, but that's how it's written, and that's how I'm reading it, guys. That's simple as that. So my love, there's elements of that allegedly being taken. I'm not too sure on that. Maybe you can let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. But if we see the 7th, actually, that open bit of ground there seems to have been pushed back. Maybe it's a little, or not too sure. Maybe we're seeing a little bit of resistance here from Russia. This front line here seems to have been pushed forward a little bit. I'm not too sure on that. We'll have to do a little bit more digging. And yeah, my initial thought is Russia wasn't pushing them back. So to see this movement back in that direction, I know that they have been putting a bit of resistance up in these little towns and areas surrounding, but I didn't think there'd be that much resistance. On the 7th, we see that pushed back a little bit more. Maybe it's the expectations were overestimated on that. But if we rewind back a little bit further, yeah, not too many advances. I would like to see, personally, Ukraine taking this area like they did. They pushed through the middle there, taking this area, Nova Kamenyanka, and maybe it's pushed through to this little settlement and these settlements. Taking these settlements, then it can just literally flank down this side. Maybe take my love from a different angle. No pun intended, I promise. So yeah, there's quite a bit going on there, but not as much movement. But this is the bit that I'm interested in. Let's look at this. There's two parts of Kherson, really. There's the bit to the right of Mykolaiv. Kherson itself is, it seems to be divided in this long stretch here. This bit of land, should we say, all right? This area here is what we're interested in. Now, you see here they've taken the northeastern point. Now, I was expecting this, but I kind of forgot about it. I was thinking, what if they launched an attack um, towards the southwest, this region here, pushing towards Kherson from this direction and this direction? That makes a little bit more sense. It doesn't allow a route out, but when we're thinking of the war fighting that's taking place in Kherson, maybe Ukraine is taking no prisoners with this. Maybe they're just thinking, you know what, let's take the fight to them. In terms of active warfare fighting for this type of region, I do think it's important that they put a little bit more pressure on from potentially two sides, and they're doing that now. So maybe we're going to see that bit of map encroach and get smaller towards Kherson as it progresses, troops. So that's my predictions. That's an early prediction just because we have seen a little bit of movement here, a little bit of movement there. So what is that? Terinovi Podi. It's a small area. I mean, what are we talking about in terms of active land gained? It is 12 square kilometers. Okay, so in kilometers, in time, in it's a settlement. You know, I'm just trying to think where I live. It's probably, it's probably double that, and it's still quite small. But war fighting is war fighting, and the terrain itself, what we're looking at. It's a tiny, tiny settlement. This outpost here has probably been manned with very little Russian opposition. We've seen and heard that the areas that Russia is trying to maintain, they're doing it with minimal troops. All right, there's not that many of them on the ground, and we were speaking about that yesterday. Actually, it's phenomenal. You know, they're literally operating on, so in most cases, less than a third of what they need in these areas. I think it's one man per 60 meters of front line. It's not good enough. All right, it's not good enough if you want to, not even if you want to maintain your defensive positions. If you want to actually push on forward and actively take land, you need a lot more than that resource wise. And that's why so much land has been taken. I believe that it's only a matter of time until these surrounding settlements here are taken. I'm surprised they haven't already been taken. This here, Nokivkivka, Borishdijk, I think these areas are probably next because it's closer to the road systems there. It would make sense if we dig a little bit further into these positions. We can see that the terrain itself, it doesn't look too bad. It's quite rural. I think it's quite flat by the looks of it. I believe these areas are probably next on the agenda for our Ukrainian brothers. Okay, these areas here, a couple of road systems there, main road systems potentially. Yeah, easy pickings. Zeleny High. I think that's possibly another area of interest. You know, if they can take these areas and they're not really too heavily guarded, Kherson itself isn't too far away at all. But what I think Ukraine will probably think about doing before pushing on through to Kherson is they'll take these settlements in and around the area and they'll probably try and hold them, holding these areas. So we've got a big blue front that looks something like this. And then if we look up to the right, I think they're going to try and probably hold these areas until this pushes down a little bit further. I would like to see the majority of this land taken in these areas first. And then, Russia has got a choice, fight honorably or get the hell out of there. But I know what I would be doing. You're looking at these areas. These are going to be blue pretty quick. And you've got this main river system, it looks like, up here. That area there is going to be a little bit like the Oskil River and Reservoir. We've seen active war fighting there, slow things down. So I think if they can push from My Love southwards towards that river system quick, I think it's going to be important. And that new little counteroffensive from the west, probably trying to take settlements, hold land until they're pushing south a little bit further, and then take Kherson full stop, full steam ahead. That would be what I think is going to probably happen if we keep up the updates every day. We're going to see that for ourselves, guys. But let's get straight into the northern part of what's going on here. Not a lot, it seems, via the map. We're going to get into a little bit of an analysis on the information that we've got after the map study, so make sure you stick around for that. But let's just rewind Craig David style. Yeah, not a lot Little bit going on. Right, let's zoom in. Makilivka, right, so I believe that's just been taken. Right, that's quite a prominent bit of land there. If we zoom in, the terrain, yeah, it looks a little bit rugged, potentially a little bit hilly. It's hard to make out on here. But in terms of actual area covered, we are looking approximately how much round there? About 13 square kilometers. It's quite an area to take that, and it seems to have taken it quite prominently. You can see that little push on through. They've pushed on through a little bit more, yeah, into this direction. The next main area that I'm looking at here is Ploshanka, where I believe Russia has probably pushed on to. There's a lot of open space here, troops. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of open space before we get to the nearest settlements, and Ukraine has took all of these settlements, bar Nevsk. Right, okay, that's what needs to happen. Let's zoom out a bit. So, what we are, there's a lot of open rural land, especially down the south region. So, only thing stopping them really is this area here. Once they take that area, I believe all of the rest of this open land here, even all the way up to Kremenina, Holivkov, all of these places, Ploshanka, there's two main settlements that they need to take to be able to retake an area of approximately 700 square kilometers. Okay, so right, I'm just going to put a prediction out. We're going to see within the next 3 days all of this area blue. That's what I think is going to happen, which is pretty much a quarter of what they've already taken since the east of the Oskil Reservoir has been taken. So that's an awful lot of land. Kupiansk seems to have had a little bit of traction north. Obviously, their defensive positions. And no, it's not Kupiansk. It's Podoli. Right, so they've seems to have pushed southwards. Podoli, yes, a lot of open land here, pushing the troops into this direction. Bit rugged terrain there, quite flattened areas, but these areas here looks quite built up. There doesn't seem to be too much going on. There's a few main settlements that they need to probably take. This, and again, that massive amount of area is for the taken, guys. That area itself is about 200 square kilometers. We're going to see massive traction in the next couple of days if they can keep up the hard work, troops. I really do think that they can do it. A little bit of a map study there, nothing too technical. I'm not going to try and bore you with all the technicalities of what I think's going on, because at the end of the day, it's not rocket science. They're either taking land or they're losing land, and it's just good to see. But let's talk about the mobilization and force generation efforts, guys. And we're going to talk a little bit about this, and then I might do a separate video going in depth about what they're talking about. But we're going to go through a paragraph or two to spur interest and generate conversation in the comments bit. So, mobilization and force generation efforts. Russian objective is to expand combat power without conducting general mobilization. So, what that means is, what have we got to work with? How can we utilize that in the most combat effective way to expand our power across certain regions? That's militarily, technically, political talk for what we've got is all we've got. And we need to be able to utilize that more effectively. How we do that, we don't know yet, right? But we need more from you, is what it is. And when I was in the Royal Marines, there's times when things should happen that don't happen. It's just the way it works, and a lot more is asked of you, and they don't care how you do it. You better pull it out the bag. Simple as that. So that's what that is in a nutshell. Expanding combat power without conducting general mobilization. So how can we get what we've got on the land without mobilizing volunteers from prisons and all the rest of it? Because there's been massive problems with that. But local Russian officials appear to be frantically looking for ways to fund their mobilized units, as the Kremlin increasingly expects local administrations to pay for the war effort from their own budget. So we're seeing problems in the Kremlin already in terms of where's the money coming from? Where's it going? All right, we don't want to pay for this. That's your job. There's already problems massively politically with the economic status of this war. wants to start arguing with themselves about how to expand combat power without funding the recognized military groups on the ground properly, then you know it's doomed to fail. There's also reports that people aren't actually getting paid, those of the volunteers, which is crazy. And it doesn't surprise me one bit. A Russian opposition outlet reported yesterday or the day before, in fact, no, it was about 3 days ago now, that the Ministry of Industry and Trade for the Republic of Mariel forced business owners to donate 1% of their earnings to fund mobilized personnel in the Republic. So they're even trying to stretch public funding, guaranteed without real consent, without a real vote on the matter. It's, hey, we're taking a percentage off you to fund the war effort over there. And we know there's a lot of people against the war anyway in Russia. They just can't really say, too publicly about that matter. But 1% might not seem a lot, but it'll be a lot. There's a lot of rich businesses in Russia, used to be operating all over the world. And there's a lot of political interest in that Russian budget, So taking 1% off people, that's going to really piss people off, to pardon the French. But the ministry reportedly threatened to mobilize employees of the businesses that if they did not comply. So in a nutshell, just picture this: 1940s gang warfare in London, 1940s gang warfare in New York. All right, you've got the mafia bosses, you've got the hard man, you've got the craze and stuff walking around, going around to local businesses as a mob and going, hey, guess what? You want protection? You don't want protection? You're having it. You're paying for it as well. So they're effectively taxing businesses or threaten to mobilize them if they don't give up the 1%. So if you don't want to be mobilized and you've got a business, guess what? Well, there's a ransom to pay. That's what it is. It's crazy that that's happening, guys. One businessman told the outlet that he had to transfer money despite personal opposition to the war in order to protect his employees. Again, we've talked about how there's people just quite simply opposed to the war. You're going to get people on both sides of the matter, opposed to the war, for the war. That's just the way the circle of life is. But he's been told, hey, guess what? Transfer us money, or you're getting you and your employees are getting sent to the front lines. Imagine that. And then, and that stated the purpose of the funds was voluntary donations to provide humanitarian assistance to military personnel called up for partial mobilization. So voluntary donations aren't really voluntary if you're getting threatened to bang a military helmet on and get on the front lines. You couldn't write this stuff, but it's written. An anti-war Russian outlet reported that public employees and teachers in Krasnodar Krai were forced to voluntarily deduct 1 day of October pay to transfer to a fund to support mobilized personnel. The outlet noted that authorities in Krasnodar previously forced public officials to donate parts of their salaries to repair a highway in Russian-occupied Crimea in 2014. So this has been going on for nearly a decade now. Pay up. Help us with our war effort, okay? Help us with our business in the war game. It's not really something you'd directly force the public to do. There's ways and means in terms of budgeting it and stuff like that, But crikey, guys, this is insane. Omsk Governor Alexander Burkov reported on the 5th, that was this month, that Omsk faces a budget deficit of more than 13 billion rubles and was unable to pay for the additional benefits to mobilize that area's citizens, like childcare support. So in a nutshell, there's people suffering at the brunt end of this anyway. But child support, forget about it. All right, you ain't getting it. Which is a horrific feeling when you think about it. On a humanitarian level, it's just off the charts, guys. I don't know what to say on that. It's crazy. Burkov was reported, was responding to a video circulated by service members who alleged that their salaries were unpaid. So there's people not getting paid. There's people getting threatened with their businesses that their employees are going to get sent to the front lines if they don't give 1% or give a voluntary donation. Otherwise, you're getting sent. There's people not getting paid who are on the front lines, who are there volunteering anywhere. They're not getting paid because people are arguing in the Kremlin whose budget has to come from. You've already got troops on the bloody ground and you're arguing who the budget has to come from. You got guys living and dying on the front lines. This is real life, guys. Truth. But, make of that as you wish. If you want to hear more on things like that, updates on the money situation, on the mobilization force generation efforts, let me know in the comments. I'll do another video on that alone. Guys, that's the end of today's update. Thank you for stopping by. If you do anything today, please smash the like button. All right. We need everyone who views these videos to hit the like. No one, I don't think most people realize how important it is. Okay. It just literally can change your channel. It can push it right into the YouTube cosmos if you press the like button. So let's go, troops. I trust that you can do it. Thank you, guys. Peace out.